surge we're dealing with now started with the last administration, but it's our responsibility to deal with it humanely and to stop what's happening. And so this increase has been consequential, but the vice president's agreed, among the multiple other things that have happened at the meeting, and I appreciate it, agreed to lead our diplomatic effort and work with those nations to accept the returnees and enhance migration enforcement at their borders. We're already talking with Mexico about that. She's already done that. We're going to be dealing with a full team now that we have to be able to deal with the problem here at home, but also to deal with it now in terms of in country. And I can think of nobody who's better qualified to do this than this is a woman who ran the second largest Attorney General's office in America after the United States Attorney General in the state of California, and has done a great deal upholding human rights, but also fighting organized crime in the process. So it's not her full responsibility and job, but she's leading the effort, because I think the best thing to do is to put someone who, when he or she speaks, they don't have to wonder about, is that where the president is? When she speaks for me, doesn't have to check with me, she knows what she's doing, and I hope we can move this along. So, Madam Vice President, thank you. I gave you a tough job, and you're smiling, but there's no one better capable of trying to organize this.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, and for having...
That was what we know as president, what we know, handing over, relinquishing power to the actual president, Biden handing over the powers to take over what's going on in the border crisis, the border debacle, dumpster fire, if you will, handing it's going down, obviously at our southern borders. There's a bigger story there, isn't it? Right? Not just handing over the border situation to his so-called vice president, or like he likes to call her, the president, President Harris. But he is actually, the list is getting very long on what he's handling. I was listening to Bill O'Reilly not too long ago, and he had mentioned that he likes to follow the schedule of the president. It doesn't matter which president it is. All the presidents, if they're in office, he likes to follow the schedule, their daily schedule. They post that, and they make that available for the media. I think it might even be available for the public, but the media. And O'Reilly is an avid follower of those schedules daily. And the other day he had mentioned that on Biden's list that he was supposed to meet with the Prime Minister of Ireland. And maybe it happened, but there's actual video footage. They're not hiding it or anything like that. There's nothing to hide, quite frankly. But the video that I saw, the meeting with Ireland, was with Kamala Harris. They were speaking via closed circuit or Skype or what have you. Kamala Harris was having the meeting with Ireland. So I'm not knocking Bill O'Reilly. That was obviously on his on Biden's schedule, but Harris was indeed the one that met with the representative, prime minister, if you will, of Ireland. And the list is getting longer and longer. She's meeting with more and more. She's not meeting, in some cases, she's not actually meeting with country leaders. President Xi there's no way in the world he's ever going to meet with Harris. None. Maybe when she's president. Maybe. But I don't think even then. It's just not what Harris is made for. She's not in position right now to be president. She will be, no doubt, even before this year's over. Even before this year's over, Harris is acting as president now. You might as well say she's just going president now. But we will become, because just recently they said that the whole thing, that we are to call it the Biden-Harris administration until it turns into the Harris-Biden administration and then fully the Harris administration. They just released from the White House, we should call it the Biden-Harris administration. And then the rest, falls into place. Harris-Biden, Harris administration. And people like Putin and Xi and Kim Jong-un, they're not going to meet with Harris. It's a waste of time for them. They're just going to they're going to look down on her, and it's not just because she is a woman or she is a woman of color. She is not. People are forgetting. Before we go on, people are forgetting that she was the first person to drop out of all the candidates, the Democrat candidates, that were on those stages. She's the first person. She was one that that was popular enough to break 2%. And she couldn't quite reach 2%, let alone break 2%. Buttigieg did more than Harris. So Harris bailed out. Granted, she was coaxed out because she got the guaranteed position of where she is now. You will be in office. We just need you necessarily to step out and hide away because you're burning yourself. We need you to step out and hide away, and you will be in office. We have to go with the face that can go toe-to-toe with Donald Trump. And how pathetic was it? How pathetic was it that their total choice, their savior was Biden, and it didn't matter. It could have been an old dirty sock. There were people that hated Trump so much that they were going to vote for the old dirty sock, and we would have had an old dirty sock as president and Kamala Harris as vice president. But Harris was going to be in position. Everything was chipped away at until Biden was the guy. And then it took the machine. It took the machine to put Biden in office. But that's neither here nor there. The telling part is that more and more power relinquished to Kamala Harris. And it's not because she has the brains or that she has the know-how or a plan. The Muppets are far more soulful. The Muppets, when they're hanging up on wherever you hang your Muppets, Um, they have far more soul. They have far more heart and soul than Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris will be the face of the machine, and that's really all she'll be, and that's what she is now, right? So as Biden fades away into the sunset, here we are trying to hold ourselves together with this debacle that's happening on the border. And here I'm gonna give you some updates on what we're getting from the border. There was a recent border patrolman that took a risk here, a massive risk, and what this border patrolman said, he called himself Carlos. That's not his real name, but for the sake of the story, every once in a while we'll mention the name Carlos. This is what he revealed, and we'll explain why. No, as a matter of fact, why don't I play with what I have? This is Representative Sanchez. This is what's her name? It is. Give me a second here. Linda Sanchez, California. My apologies. Linda Sanchez, California. This is, if you've noticed, we haven't been getting much from the border. We haven't been getting much news from the border. It says media organizations and immigration activists have been trying for weeks to gain access to the facilities to document the conditions under which thousands of migrant children are being held as precedent. Unprecedented numbers of migrants surge across the U.S.-Mexico border, but the Biden administration has far denied entry to the media conveniently, citing coronavirus concerns. All right. The little reporting has come about the facility has been little reporting that's been coming about the facilities has been concerning, to say the least, as it describes thousands of children locked up in grim cells akin to jails for long periods of time, longer than legally allowed. And this, now, that was just a precursor of what I'm getting to here. This is what Linda Sanchez had to say when asked why the media hasn't been. She was on CNN with Poppy Harlow, who was actually kind of tough on her. She at one point when Sanchez mentioned something as to why, she was saying, "Hey, look, the last administration didn't let." You'll hear this. The last administration didn't let Congress people, senators, what have you, politicians, in to see that. And Poppy Harlow says, well, that doesn't mean anything. So once again, Poppy Harlow proving that ovaries make for far stronger people than testicles. Here's what Linda Sanchez had to say.
I will tell you that under the Trump administration, members of Congress were not allowed inside these facilities. So if the president's not allowed inside,
that just doesn't mean anything now. Respectfully, Congresswoman, I mean, clearly you were upset about that lack of transparency. Are you concerned about this lack of transparency?
Sure. Well, again, when you have numbers in the numbers that we see, and we have facilities that are appropriate for children, but because of COVID protocols, you can't fill them to capacity. You have to have social distancing. They are trying to process children as quickly as they can. And no, these detention facilities at the border were not meant for children. Children are meant to be in licensed facilities, but because of the numbers and because of the social distancing that's required, they are doing the best that they can. And I don't necessarily think that it's appropriate for journalists to be inside centers that are not permanent places for children, that children are not placed there permanently. They're processed out of those facilities as quickly as possible.
It's not appropriate for the media. She doesn't think that it's appropriate for the media to be in there telling the story as to what is going on. Let's get back to Carlos. If we are not, this is a Border Patrol agent that anonymously got with some reporters, and you have to do something. You have to do something because the media is saying they don't want to be in. They do want to be in there, but they're just kind of going along. Nobody's making an actual true effort. Maybe they are. I don't know. But no one's making an actual true effort, or we haven't seen an actual true effort of getting down to the story. But here's a little something. This is why we are not hearing from the conditions that are going on at the border. The numbers of people that are down there it is just absolutely maddening. And here are the conditions. The family unit holding cells smell like urine and vomit. Fights break out in the unaccompanied minor cells. Scabies, lice, and the flu and COVID-19 are running rampant. Up to 80 individuals are squeezed into 24 by 30-foot cells, and there aren't enough mattresses for everyone. Sheets of plastic divide the rooms. Any diseases that are in there are kept in there like a petri dish. The smell is overwhelming. It's a quote from an anonymous border agent, because they face it every day. They face it, and it goes on. Border Patrol agents on the front lines are getting so frustrated that they're now risking their livelihoods to reveal what's really going on in the illegal immigrant processing facilities. 1 or 2 agents are left to control 300 to 500 people during a shift. No agents want to report physical or sexual assaults between the aliens because they'll get blamed for letting it happen. They're also forced to separate a child from an extended family member because he or she is not the biological parents. So, quick sidebar here. They're ripping children from the arms of family members. It sounds familiar? Sounds like part of a campaign that I remember. The children under 18 who arrive without a parent is buckling the system. The anonymous Border Patrol agent said, it used to be easy to get them out in 72 hours. Not anymore. They're staying here for 10 to 12 days. It's horrible. That is a quote. In 2020, 33,000 children were apprehended by the Border Patrol. So far, these almost 3 months, 29,000 accompanied children crossing the border illegally have been apprehended, and we're still counting. 33,000 2020, 29,000. We haven't even finished March. Everybody that shows up here, even if it's a 3-year-old kid with no one around, they'll have an address on them. I don't know if it's written on them, maybe on a piece of paper. Not sure how that works out. And they'll give it to you. Here's my address. This is where you send me. Most of the unaccompanied minors come from Central American countries: Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador. That is why we're not hearing from the border. Mayorkas was mad at some congresswoman the other day because she said, "Hey, look, I have a friend that was killed by an illegal immigrant." He's pissed off. He's like, you don't have the right. That is insulting. It's a blah blah that to bring that up. Okay, but okay, it still doesn't answer First of all, it doesn't explain why you're mad that my friend was killed by an illegal immigrant. And it still doesn't fix the problem that there are illegal immigrants. Not all illegal immigrants are bad people. But bad people are coming in illegally, just like the good illegal immigrants. There's that going on. There's the criminal element that's coming in. There's the disease and viruses that are coming in. Then there's the people that are coming in, that are flying in from the Middle East and or Africa, and even China, and trying to cross along with the South American illegal immigrants, trying to mix in, because they just caught 11 Iranians trying to sneak in south of the border, and some of them are even some of the names are even on the terrorist list. So that all this going on, I know. I have, again, leftist friends, very leftist friends, that did not vote for this. But I'm not exactly sure how they didn't see it coming. If we knew about it, as conservatives, if you will, libertarians, if we knew about it, and you would argue against it, you obviously were getting some sort of information, even if it was opposite of what we were telling you. You're obviously getting some sort of information, which would at least to me would spark the curiosity to look into what are they talking about. They're completely standing against me. I'm so mad at them for standing against me. I have to find out where they're getting this information. I know that those people did not vote for this. And I always go back, I unfortunately always go back to, they hated Trump so much that they were just going to vote. But is this worth that hate? If your feelings brought us what's going on and what is going to be the result in just a few years of what's going on at that southern border. If your feelings did this, you genuinely have to take a huge step back and ask yourself, am I making the right choices? Am I in the right state of mind to make choices, to want to make choices for this country? Because it's a debacle and a dumpster fire down there now. And that dumpster fire is going to spread. Even in good situations, even from good people that are crossing their border, as well as the bad people that are crossing that border, they are all going to spread throughout the country. And jobs, healthcare, money, all going to get affected by that. And here's proof of that. Warm beds and food for anyone that is not homeless and hungry. Anyone that is not homeless and a hungry American. So warm beds and food, as long as you're not a homeless and hungry American. The Biden administration's U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement just signed a $86.9 million contract to provide temporary shelter and processing services for families who have not been expelled and are therefore placed in immigration proceedings for their removal from the United States. The $86.9 million contract provides 1,239 beds and other necessary services for, for who knows how long. On top of that, in a report released on Monday by the Center for Immigration Studies, it was determined that as much as 4.38 billion dollars will be doled out to individuals illegally residing in the country as part of the American Rescue Plan Act. American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 due to the certain immigrations. You heard it right, folks. The $1,400 that everybody was all happy about, people standing at their mailbox waiting for their $1,400, people that aren't supposed to be here will indeed get the $1,400 as well. Most of them, if not all, because they have phony Social Security numbers. I take it back. They are American Social Security numbers that were acquired or flat out just given to them. $1,400 going to illegal immigrants, just like they would all the other schmoes. Flat out disgusting. Change gears here. The Boulder killing. Yesterday I mentioned that Twitter went hog wild at the Boulder killing. When they thought he was white, when they thought the Boulder killer, mass shooter, was white, the Twitter trolls, the Twitter bots came barreling out of the woods. Here's what some of the knuckleheads, including Hollywood. There's an author in here. There's an actress in here. And my favorite is Kamala Harris's niece, the Vice President of the United States' niece, honed in on the Boulder, Colorado killer. Rosanna Arquette wrote, "Call it what it is, the white supremacist domestic terrorist." That's what Rosanna Arquette wrote. Ahmed Alisi is the, according to Rosanna Arquette, white supremacist domestic terrorist. This is before we found out anything. Because it took so long to find out that this guy was not white. Right? There is here's the author, Qasim Rashid. He wrote, Tamir Rice was a 12-year-old, a black child. Police shot him in 1.7 seconds and let him suffer in agony, in pain for 4 minutes, and then he died. The Colorado terrorist is a grown white man who killed 10 people, including a cop. Cops arrested him alive and helped him to a stretcher for immediate medical care. Again, Qasim Rashid, you can kind of see why he might have wrote that. He might have even known that the dude wasn't white. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But again, all these came out before it was announced that he was white, that he wasn't white, and or they didn't announce that. They said he announced that he wasn't white before they gave his name, and then we saw pictures. Kamala Harris's niece. Again, this is my favorite one. The Atlanta shooting was not even a week ago. Violent white men are the greatest terrorist threat to our country. The Vice President of the United States, family member, white men, greatest terrorist threat to our country. Then she later wrote, because she was getting hammered, she later wrote, insecure men getting defensive about this. My God, y'all are effing fragile. Mina Harris then had to delete the evidence of her own racism and insecurities, and replacing it with an even more hateful neck puke. Because after she found out that the dude wasn't white, she wrote, I deleted a previous tweet about the suspect in the Boulder shooting. I made an assumption based on his being taken into custody. So before I finish this, she said she made an assumption based on him being being taken into custody. That was where she made her assumption. Okay, all right. As if only white guys are, dragged in. Here's a crazy one for you. She's saying that only white guys get taken into custody. She's making the insinuation that black men are just, they're just shot. But the prisons are disproportionately filled with black criminals. So, either they are not all getting shot, like she's insinuating here, or they get shot, they die, and then they drag them into the prison and they come back to life. Those are my two choices, A or B. That same tweet went on to say, alive, she said, being taken into custody alive, and the fact that the majority of the mass shootings in the U.S. are carried out by white men. Now, there's a Mother Jones study that I didn't completely look over, just kind of skimmed over it. Now, apparently I'm going to have to break it down and share it. But there's a Mother Jones study that shows that not only is it proven that white men aren't the only ones, but, and this one's going to get wild on you, considering today's climate, this one is going to get wild. Pound for pound, if you match up the percentage to the race, if you will, the percentage is higher to just the specific races, whether it be black, Asian, Hispanic, white. Asians are committing mass murders in the United States at a higher rate than whites. So it's like roughly 52 or something percent. Again, I'm just skimming over it. Like 52 or something percent white mass shooters. It's like 17% black, and then it's like 7% Asian. But according to their populations, each one of those particular populations, Asians are committing mass murders at a higher clip. Ilhan Omar, of course, she had to weigh in on all this. Ilhan Omar wrote, "He's a Muslim is trending. Did I miss he's a Christian trending for the last week's Atlanta mass murderer? The shooter's race or ethnicity seems front and center when they aren't white. Otherwise, it's just mentally ill young man having a bad day. The mentally young man narratives drive our response to awful crimes committed against innocent people. Pay attention to these responses and who is targeted." So what Elon is saying is that it wasn't important what race he was, or what religion, or ethnicity, except for the fact that she wrote that because he wasn't white, and that all those other, and just the long list, this is just a few of the tweets that blamed him for being white. All of a sudden, his ethnicity does not matter because he's not white. Everyone was just rubbing their nipples when they thought he was white. Hypocrisy, lies, misinformation, out of control. Out of control. Ilhan Omar. Doesn't matter what his ethnicity is. He's not white. And that's what she might as well wrote. She might as well have written that. What did Twitter say about all these lies and false claims and racist assumptions? What did Twitter say? The fact-checking must have been out of control. The removal, the suspension of accounts. Twitter must have went hog wild. They had a nut job day trying to keep up with all of the lies and misinformation and misguided. Here's what Twitter had to say. The tweets referenced are not in violation of Twitter rules. We will not take any action on every instance of information. Currently, our misinformation rules cover COVID-19 misinformation, synthetic and manipulated media, and civic integrity. Facebook, ain't no fact checking there. We won't need any fact checking for that. We won't need any fact checking. Dude's white. Okay, he can stay white. Ahmed Alisi can stay white. He might as well, if I was him, I would apply for some credit cards, buy a house, join a country club. Dude is white now. Might as well. Fascinating. And here's what the media is not reporting on a Boulder shooter. Now, Grant, he came here from Syria. He is a Islamic terrorist sympathizer, right? This is the kind of dude. But the potential motive of the Boulder killers, no one is talking about. The killing in Boulder was in a one-stop shop for kosher groceries. You able to add that one together? The store is also included on a it's called Vad Hakashurus. Vad Hakashurus. My apologies if I butchered that. Of Denver. Vad Hakashurus of Denver. List of stores that carry kosher items. Again, are you tying this one together? The murder on 10 white people. All the victims white. as young as 20 years old, they went up to 65, by a Muslim Syrian-born man took place in a grocery store known for selling kosher products. No one is willing to make that assumption now, are they? Here's a couple short ones. Guaranteed income in Oakland. Guaranteed income in Oakland, but only for minority families. That should be the end of the story. Guaranteed income. So that means the program called for Oakland resilient families will send, called Oakland Resilient Families, will send 600 families in the city $500 a month for over 18 months as part of an effort to eliminate racial wealth inequalities in the city, which the program argues is the result of ongoing systemic racism. All right. What is expected from that 500 months, for that $500 a month? Is it going to be investment? Are those investments going to be long-term investments? Because an investment could mean a Gucci bag. How is $500 a month going to eliminate racial wealth equality? Is it just $500 short of I don't know, Steve Kerr's contract with Golden State? Is it just that, the people on Skid Row, they just, man, if I just had $500 more, man, I could be living fat off the hog. What's happening here? They're literally giving black and Hispanic, and I'm assuming now Asian, especially now, people that are not white will get $500 a month. They'll just get it. And what their claim is that this is going to eliminate racial wealth inequalities. How does that work? None of that makes sense. $500 a month to somehow uplift uplift communities to make things equal. And if you're a broke white person, what are you thinking? If you're a broke ass, look, if you're living in the center of Oakland, which is, and you're white, you are, first of all, you're brave. And you're broke. And black people are getting $500. Where is your equality? Hispanic people are getting $500. Where is the white people equality? Because now at this point, the broke white person is $500 poorer than the minority. So equality, I don't even think needs to be talked about in that whole situation. Equality. And then lastly, and I'll leave you alone. Andrew Cuomo. It's hard to even get through a week without talking about the schmuck of New York. Andrew Cuomo, bombshell on how we prioritize family and friends. Apparently, Andy and the New York Health Commissioner, Howard Zucker, directed health officials to prioritize the governor's own family and figures with ties to his administration in the early days of the coronavirus pandemic. According to report Wednesday, family members who got priority were his brother, CNN, of course, Chris, or Fredo Cuomo. His mother, she's elderly though, so she would have got up front anyway. And at least one of his sisters. The Albany Times Union reported some family members reportedly received multiple tests, and I'm sure they got vaccines first. Anything that they wanted, they got to go through, and what that is in and of itself not that big a deal. My family would have come first if I had the power. But the problem with that is that all of the disgusting things that Cuomo did, sending the elderly and keeping them amongst themselves, sending the sick elderly and keeping them locked in places to get the other elderly sick, taking away the ability for the nursing homes to do testing or to refuse or to going back to the mask and the ventilators, stockpiles, him not investing. It goes back even further than that because him not investing in ventilators that the city needed for the hospitals. This goes back to 2015, where he's just like, yeah, we don't need this. I can use that money for me. That was an assumption on my part, but indeed, he turned down ventilators that the city needed to replace or upgrade or needed more. This again before COVID was even an issue. All right, and masks. There were stockpiles of masks that were found. They were supposed to be given to, and somehow masks have expiration dates. Cuomo's debacle starts way before we even heard of COVID. And then through COVID, he was just awful. Again, with the nursing home situations, how many people he let die. And then when it actually became a problem, he changed the policy and they hid. You can still find it online. You can still find the way the original policy was. But he changed the policy and then they never wanted to talk about it again. Then he's writing a book. He wrote a book as people were dying. He's writing a book about people who are dying on his policies. He's just an awful, awful man. And now it comes out that he prioritizes family throughout the whole thing. And I can't say that I won. I can't say that I blame him, but it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good, Andrew. That's why I say that he welcomes the sexual allegations. It takes the limelight off of that other stuff. Not everyone has forgotten that, Andrew, and you're just a flat out scumbag. So that is what I got for today. That's what I got for today. And I pray to find strength that somehow we all find strength in handling this border crisis. It's good. Whatever the answer is going to be, it's going to have to come in after those people are spread throughout the country. I pray for the country when it comes to this. Again, nobody wants to keep immigrants that are running away from horrific conditions from coming here and trying to get a better life. But it's just not going to happen. It just can't. Because one of the main reasons that it can't is because the people that are letting him in into the country are misguiding them. They're misguiding them, and they're putting them in an equally bad situation. I can assume that at least they're able to eat while they're here. They can earn something. They can have a roof over their head. So I guess crappy conditions here in the United States, even if they get 100% more crappy, are still better than the conditions that they were running from. That's the good people that are trying to get their life back together. And then there's the bad people that are hiding, the wolves, hiding among the sheep. You don't want to keep. It's just we are a country of immigrants. We are a country of immigrants, and I'm proud of that. That the entire world still sees this country as the shining city on the hill. What, that last bastion of hope. But things have to be done properly, orderly, and we need to know that who's coming here is not against this country or the people that are already here, or that changes. They need to understand that changing what is here in the United States is a danger. You came here because things are good, and we already had our laws, our ways in place, and that's why it looks so good to you. Even at its ugliest moments, the country has found a way to overcome. This country has found a way to overcome. It's not perfect, but it is beautiful. Thanks again for joining me. Ada Jet Noise, Rumble, on Facebook, Parler, YouTube, MeWe, Ada Jet Noise, ADA Jet Noise. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Again, Mondays and Fridays always tough for me, so it seems to be a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday thing for this guy. Until I can make a slot where I can do this 5, 6, maybe 7 days a week. Who knows? But until then, if I see you tomorrow on Friday, fantastic, beautiful. I want to. But until I see you again, I wish you a big hug, to be good, to be still. Enjoy your life.